So this is the second video in this series of 3 hosted by Upper Shoalhaven Landcare with Alice McGlashan, the expert on nest box 6 for hollow dwelling birds and mammals. And this video is going to be looking at tips and tricks for installing your boxes in whatever habitat you have. So I'll hand over to Alice. Thank you.
Hello, I'm going to next do a demo on how I install nest boxes on my property. But first, there are some things to think about when you're installing nest boxes. Primarily, what species is a nest box for, and what are their habitat preferences, and what things eat them, what are their predators, what are their competitors. So I guess the things to think about: if it's a small little tweedy bird that could easily get eaten by a hawk or a possum, it might need a spot that's difficult to find or difficult to see up in leafy branches. Same if you're installing a nest box for a small little pygmy possum or an antechinus. Lots of things like to eat those. If you're installing a nest box, for example, for an owl or a kookaburra, then they're kind of, or a brush-tailed possum, they're kind of higher order canopy predators, so they're less likely to get attacked and eaten or outcompeted by other animals, and so they don't need such a secluded, well-hidden spot. Another thing to think about, if it's a nest box for birds that are nesting during springtime, who likes eating eggs? Lots of animals like eating eggs. Lots of animals also like eating little chicks. So if it's for a nesting bird, or think about if it's a large nest box and it gets used by a duck, everything likes eating duck eggs, even sugar gliders. So if it's a bird nest box that's for a nesting bird of pretty much all the different species, it'd be good to put the nest box somewhere it's a little bit out of sight, or you paint it in a colour that's camouflaged. Another thing to think about is, in our climactic area, the broader Canberra region, it gets up to 45 degrees these days in summertime thanks to climate change. It also goes down to -10, -15, which is a pretty kind of horrendous kind of climactic range to suit all the different needs of different species for. So even in springtime these days, say mid-spring, can be mid to high 30s, which can be deadly for nestlings in a hollow that gets quite hot. So I'd strongly recommend, when you're installing nest boxes, to install the nest box on the opposite side of the tree to the hot afternoon sun, so it's sheltered from the hot sun. It's not getting direct sunlight, and the tree trunk itself will provide protection. And given that you don't know what animal will use the nest box you've installed, you might have stenciled on it brush-tailed possum or ring-tailed possum, but animals aren't going to look at the label on the nest box, and it might very well be used by a different parrot species for nesting in. So if it's in a spot that's not getting hot sun, then it's more likely to raise a successful family of parrots that will be protected from the hot summertime sun if they nest late in the season. So south to southeast side of the tree will generally keep most inhabitants safe. Another question is, how high should you install a nest box? Well, there are a few fussy species, but most species generally for the local region, parrots, possums, owls, ducks, they're generally happy with about 5 meters height. So 4.5, kind of 4 is a bit low, 4.5 to 5 meters will keep most species happy. And that's about the size, plus second to top rung, a human on top. That's about the height that you can easily install yourself with a ladder. I'm short. Most of my nest boxes on my property are about 5 meters height, and that's the height that I can install it safely on a ladder using the second to top rung and still get my nose in and have a look. And another thing to think about is, where should you install a nest box? So generally, well, depending, some birds, some animals aren't too fussed about lots of human traffic, pet dogs, near a road, that kind of thing. But a lot of animals don't like noise and disturbance and loud dogs and kids and cars, or fledglings leaving a nest and their first flight. If there's busy traffic nearby, they really run the risk of being taken out by a car if they first flight come crashing down next to a busy road where there's cats and dogs. So if you've got the benefit of a rural property, then I'd suggest putting your nest boxes a bit further away from your house. If you're in an urban area, then if you're lucky enough to have a tree in your backyard, then put a nest box in it. Depending on what your local native species are, possum box, rosellas, crimson rosellas are pretty forgiving. They'll happily nest in close proximity to houses, especially the urban ones. And if you're in a property that has mostly cleared paddocks, then install nest boxes in your paddock trees, absolutely. But just make sure, because there's not much cover, to install the nest boxes on the shady side of the tree so they don't get baked hot in summer sun. Okay, so in terms of installing a nest box, the recommended installation mechanism is the Habishaw system by Hollow Log Homes. I'll just show you a link next to, they've got some videos, demo videos of how to on their website. So I'll just put those up now for you. Okay, so I hope that helped explain how to make the Habishaw mechanism. And this is exactly what that is. It goes around the back of the tree. It doesn't require standing up the top of a tall ladder and drilling into hardwood. It doesn't involve damaging the tree. It's quick and easy to install, and also quick and easy to uninstall if you decide you want to move the nest box. Okay, and another question I've had people ask is, what time of year should I install nest boxes? Well, pretty much, any time of the year. If you install a nest box, it might not be the good time for a bird to use it for nesting, but they'll discover it and know to come back for next year. Or a mammal might use it all year round. So there isn't, if you're feeling like wanting to install a nest box, by all means, any time of the year is fine. If you're deciding when to put your effort in to meet seasonal requirements of species, then birds locally tend to start looking for nesting spots kind of early to midwinter, to then prep the nest and call dibs on a nest, to then begin using it that first warm week of early spring or late winter. So they'll generally want to have found it already. So if you install nest boxes early spring, you run the risk of having your local native birds move in when it's already too late and they've got chicks in the nest box when there's that first heat wave. And that can be deadly. It can kill them. I've had that happen to a couple of nest boxes on my property. So if you're going to install for nesting birds, I'd recommend either at the end of the season when they're not going to nest at all, like late summer, so there's no chance they're going to nest then, or early to mid-winter, late winter maybe, but perhaps avoid kind of mid-spring, because I might move in, but to their detriment. Cool. All right. So next I'll show you how I install nest boxes on my property. There's just me, myself and I, so this is a technique that I have that just me can do it. I always make sure too that I have my phone in my back pocket just in case there's an accident and I can call for help. So what I do is I attach a rope to the top of the ladder to tie around the tree. I've done a bit of rock climbing and figure of eight, so a knot that I know quite well. So I'll just show you how to do that. So it's twist it twice around and then feed it through like that. And then you want to attach it around a structural part of the ladder, weight-bearing part, not the flimsy aluminium strut, because if things come a cropper, that's likely to break, but this won't break. So feed it around that, and same when you're up the tree, feed it around the other side. And then with a figure of eight, just follow the knot back through where it's come from. Try and do that while talking. There we go. Like this. And then leave enough at the end just to do a bit of a hitch to keep it in place. Right, so that's ready to go. Now the other thing I do before taking the nest box up the ladder is that I get the wire ready to easily feed around the back of the tree and catch it with my other hand to feed it round, rather than getting it up the ladder and then having to untangle it at a height, balancy, avoid that. So do all the prep on the ground. If you forget and take it up, climb it back down the ladder, do the prep on the ground, take it back up. So what I do is I uncoil it, or if it's straight, with gravity, you basically want to have it go round the back of the tree and then spring towards you and up, so you can catch it rather than down or high, or have it disappear off into the distance in that direction. So you want it to kind of boomerang back around the tree. So it's you feed it around the tree like that, and then it comes back and you can easily catch it with this hand. So that's ready to go, still. So now I'll put the ladder up against the tree. Get that rope as well. Normally I don't have sound system to get tangled in as well. So, okay, so I have it before. There's it. So you want a nice angle like that, that's nice and steady. And next I set it against the ground, so give it a couple of kicks into the ground and jiggle it and make sure it's not tilty or tippy, it's nice, flat and balanced. So next we'll tie the rope up the top of the tree. So now when you attach this second part to the ladder, make sure also you pick a structural part of the ladder, not the flimsy aluminium strut, and do it nice and tight. Like so. And now that feels nice and steady. Rightio, ready to install the nest box. So remember, I've prepped this wire already to make sure it comes round the back of the tree and back so it's easy to catch. Now before you carry it up the tree, have a think about which side of the tree you're going to install the nest box. If you're installing it on that side of the tree, carry it up on that side of your body. And if you're installing it on that side of the tree, then carry it up on that side of your body, so that when you get up there, you don't have to lean back and switch it across your body and make you all bouncy and tippy. If you forget, then there's nothing wrong with climbing back down the ladder, starting again, putting it on the correct side, the easy side of your body. So I'm going to install the nest box on this side of the tree. So I'll carry it up this side. I am right-handed, which is this handed, but I'm quite comfortable carrying it up left-handed. But see how you feel. You can always choose also to put the ladder on the other side of the tree, to pick your strong hand to carry the nest box up, or to hold the ladder. Figure out what works best for you. So the other thing is, nest boxes are easy to hold through the entrance, and it's good to get this bit of wire under control, otherwise it can catch. So if you can hook it around your thumb like that, then it's not going to tangle and cause you to trip. So if it's a heavy nest box, feel free to take a bit of a break halfway up. Gather some strength, catch your breath. It's a nice, stable place to have a rest. Then continue. And I find it's nice and safe to use the kind of the second to or third top rung or the second top rung. And when you get up here, just balance the nest box on the top of the ladder like that to carry the weight. You don't need to be a super strong person to do this, but it's about figuring out some tricks to make it easy. Now what you want to do is feed the wire around the back of the tree. Like so. And because you've bent it already, it's just come round, straight round the tree and is ready to install. So just unbend the end and feed it through the loop from the inside of the tree out like so. And then lift the nest box up to where you want it to sit like that, and then pull the wire tight. Take up as much slack as you can, as tight as you possibly can, like so. And I'd suggest bending this back on itself so it doesn't get you in the face of the eye again, like so. So bend it back on itself through the loop and feed it around the tree and just get it out of the way, put it behind the back of the nest box or something. So it's whoop, like that. A few bends. Okay, on the back like this. Okay, so what I do at the end is I give the nest box some taps on the top to bed it in, and then it doesn't budge. It's nice and tight. That's not going to rock in the wind or cause any eggs to crack. It's nice and steady. And that's the nest box installed using the Habishaw system. Now I'll demo, just in case you decide that's a dumb location, it's happened to me and you want to relocate the nest box, is just that simple in reverse. So climb down a bit, unhook the end so it goes through freely like this, and you get ready to bear the weight of the nest box from the entrance hollow. Shift it round and lean it up against the ladder. That's what I usually do. So like that. There you go, it's free. I suggest bending this back on itself so it doesn't get you in the eyes, and wear glasses. And then before you carry it down, if you can secure the wire somehow with your hand so that it doesn't catch on the ladder as you go down and trip you up. So like that, one package, and then reverse back down the ladder. It's that easy to uninstall an nest box using this system as well. Okay, that's installing nest box using the Habishaw system. I'll do a close-up next so that you can see at a close range how to do all that. Right. Okay, I'm just going to do a close-up demo of how to install the Habishaw system around a tree, the nest box. So what I do to start with is I open up the loop like that, ready to go, and then I feed it round the back of the tree. See how I pre-prepared it and it bounces exactly to where I want it. So then you want to feed it from the inside out like that, the nest box. And then if you want to install the nest box like that, I'll do it in this way so you can see. Then you want to pull it as tight as you can. So keeping it horizontal, you don't really want to have it sagging like that, dangling. So you want it to be nice and tight around the tree, like this. But the beauty of this system is as a tree expands, this gives. So like that, and bend this end back in itself and tie this. I won't do it now, but just catch it in itself around there so it's not flying around. Then what I do is I give it a couple of taps on the roof So this bed's in, and then it's nice and steady, doesn't move in the wind, it's not going anywhere, and that's going to sit for decades until the nest box fails. And then in reverse, if you want to uninstall the nest box, it's just a matter of carrying the weight, pulling this out, unhooking this, straighten this up like that, and then getting ready to carry the weight. Pull that through, hook that a bit back up so when it flies around it doesn't get you in the eye, and there's the nest box uninstalled. No damage done to the tree, no holes, and it's super easy to do. Now I've created this graphic to give you some ideas of great locations to install nest boxes for different species, ones that require canopy cover, ones that like a bit more open areas. Also just consider that if you're installing a nest box for a predator species, such as a brush-tailed possum, or a kookaburra, then install these a fair bit away from other nest boxes because, well, kookaburras will raid anything, nest boxes they can get into, birds, eggs and chicks, and brush-tailed possums will kill adult birds. They'll happily eat eggs and chicks. Other birds that aren't predators of each other, that eat each other, you can install nest boxes a bit more densely, but just make sure all the different entrance sizes are, or all the entrance sizes are very different. And maybe find out which species are competitors with each other and which species can cohabitate in the same kind of little zone tree or nearby trees without too much stress. Also, just in summary, 4 to 5 metres is a good installation height that suits the majority of hollow using species. And that's also a height that you can easily access from a tall ladder if you're comfortable with climbing ladders. Installation orientations, if you're in an area where it gets a bit hot over summertime, then I strongly recommend installing them on the southeast side of the tree, so the opposite side of the tree to the hot westerly northwest sun in the afternoon. And finally, do consider that camouflage of a nest box and the location of a nest box is the best defense against predators. Even predators get predated upon by other meat-eating species. So if you make your nest boxes similar colours to the tree trunks, paint them in pale colours so that they don't absorb hot sunshine and heat up the occupants inside, and install them in locations where if you stand back, it's a bit tricky to see the nest box. If it's really obvious and easy to see, then there's a high chance that a predator species can see the nest box too, and it might get raided. I hope this has been helpful to give you some ideas about how to install nest boxes yourself, and also how to use the Habishaw tree attachment mechanism, and also some ideas of where to install nest boxes to keep your different hollow using native species safe from predators and competitors.